Happy holy day. High honors to everyone who spoke before myself. Alhamdulillah. Know thyself. Interesting. We talk about this a lot in our temple. When I was younger, I used to hate book reports. I used to hate to read. So what I would do is I would read the front cover and I would read the back page and I would try to, skim through some chapters and make it work. You know what I'm saying? Make some shape. Interestingly enough, when you get like that, you understand that the cover tells you what the book is about, the inside cover, the outside cover, and also the back page, the summary tells you what the book is about or the pamphlet is about. So as soon as you open the pamphlet, the first page say, know thyself and Allah. So that tells you that's mainly what this is about, knowing yourself and your Father, Allah, Father God, Allah. The back page, when you open it up, it says, this is for the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America. Need to learn to love instead of hate and to know of his higher self and lower self. Once again, about knowing yourself. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching instructions for all Moorish Americans, etc. And the back cover says, know yourself and your Father God, Allah. Alhamdulillah. So it's beautiful to get to these chapters, the later chapters, some of my favorite chapters. I say that about every chapter, so don't judge me. But knowing yourself, because it's that important. I was building with some brothers earlier today, and he was like, man, if you don't have the right view of yourself, you'll have the wrong view of God. If you don't look at yourself correctly, if you don't look at yourself in the right view, how you gonna look at your creator? Then if you don't know, as some brothers talked about earlier, if you don't know your nationality, you might be looking at your creator through somebody else's eyes. We all, have grown up in this colonized society. So we have seen what that has done to people when they view the creator from someone else's viewpoints. I believe the chairman in New York earlier, she read about returning those things, returning those ideologies. So praise Allah. So with that, chapter 36, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Know Thyself. Weak and ignorant as thou art, O man, and humble as thou oughtest to be, O child of the dust. Wilt thou raise thy thoughts to infinite wisdom? Wilt thou seek omnipotence to display before thee? Contemplate thy frame. Beautiful, right? The first thing that draws to my mind when you see that is the two first words, or the two before the comma, is weak and ignorant. Now, when we study this, we know we got 5 folds of men. One of them is weakness and one of them is insufficiency of knowledge. So the beginning of knowing yourself, it gives you 2 of your 5 folds. You got to know your weaknesses and you have to know about your insufficiency of knowledge. So let's jump to those chapters. Let's jump to the chapter weakness. Now, weakness is on, that's chapter 42. Now I'm gonna jump to key 18. So blended is weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast neither strength either to be good nor to be evil entirely. Rejoice that thou cannot excel in evil, and that the good that is within thy reach content thee. Early in this chapter, it also tells you that to be happy is to be content. So one, if you're going through things, know that one, you can overcome them things. I'm gonna jump to that key now. Key 14. Allah have given thee no good without its a mixture of evil, but he have given thee also the means of throwing off the evil from it. See, if we go back to our forefather, all of our forefather Adam alayhi salam, when he was in the garden, it was nothing but good in the garden. God told him, don't go eat from the tree. See, that tree was the tree of good things. He could eat from all those. He wouldn't eat from the tree of bad things, of bad words, of bad deeds. That's when the mixture happened. He got kicked out of the garden. So at first, everything was pure, all one way. Then things got mixed, as we talked about on the call. You have a choice in some of these things. The brother Mike Jael just was talking about that. So this is the choice, but you've been given something good, but it has a little bit of evil on it. Assistant National Grand Sheik, brother Curtis Douglas said, he talked about that. He said, that's the murky ethers of the flesh. So you gotta get out of the murky ethers. Key 15. As joy is not without its alloy of pain, so neither is sorrow without its portion of pleasure. Joy and grief, though unalike, are united. Our own choice can only give them to us entirely. Once again, doubling back on choice. Like heat and cold is the same thing. It just depends on your experience. So it's showing you that these things, because now going back to what I was talking about with Adam going into the garden, these things have now been joined. See, on this plane, in this dunya, in this life, good and bad is mixed. But see, when you get to the hereafter, Noble Drew Ali talked about it in one of the chapters. He said, you'll get everlasting retribution. So either when you go to this next plane, based on your decisions here, as it just talked about, you either going to get all good, gardens, bliss, joy, or you're going to get all bad, fire, all type of stuff that go with the fire. Don't do a lot. So now that was weakness. So also when you look into weakness, because this is your foe that you got to fight, you have to see that your joy, your grief are connected. So the times when you happy, don't get too high because it's connected to grief. So if you get too attached to your happiness, just know, you ever like somebody too much, then you overlook some things that they was doing, now you mad at them? Yeah, your joy and your grief is connected, alhamdulillah. So it's just showing you those different things. So now let's jump to the chapter on insufficiency of knowledge. So when you get some time, go read through your 5 foes, because that's part of knowing yourself. It says, without a foe to fight, a soldier never knows his strength. You got to know what you're facing. You got to know what your weakness is. You got to know that you lacking some knowledge on some things. So now, insufficiency of knowledge. And we're going to jump to keys 19 and 21. Naturally, does man desire the truth, yet when it's before him, he will not apprehend it. And if it forces itself upon him, he is not offended at it. The fault is not in truth, for that is amiable. But the weakness of man bears not his splendor. See, those were the 2 keys he started with. He said, oh, weak as you are, man, and weak and ignorant as thou art. So it's even showing you in insufficiency of knowledge that that's a part of weakness, that when you see the truth, you come into the temple, Islam. Oh, no, I ain't doing that. Oh, when you come into certain aspects, you don't even apprehend the truth. You don't even want to do the things because you don't bear his splendor. You don't see how good it is to be humble. You don't see how good, but we know in the other chapter it says, the science of the wise man's life is the happiness, pursuit of happiness. And it also tell you that the highest virtues, the highest attainment in life is virtuous things. Humility is one of the best things. Brother Mike Jail gave you another virtuous act. Patience. The other brother earlier on the call talked about obedience. These are those virtuous acts. But because of your weakness and your own desires and what you want, you don't even bear up the splendor of humility. You don't even get the joys of patience. You don't even get to see the joys of obedience. My national grand Sheik always say something like this. He said, King, you'll never know what's the result of doing the obedience act till you're on the other side of doing it. People will stop when they figure out, oh, I got to do that. I ain't doing it. You don't even know what you're going to get for doing it. Don't do a lot, but you already made a decision. If you make a decision and you only have half the information, that would be called an ignorant decision. You need to know more about it, right? You should do more research. So insufficiency of knowledge and then making decisions based off insufficiency of knowledge is called weakness. Now we'll jump down to key 28. The tender of heart is turned from his purpose by his supplications, and the proud is rendered more obstinate by entreaty. The sense of thy insufficiency commandeth thee to hear, but to be just, thou must hear without thy passions. And we just talked about in weakness how your joys and your griefs and all those things are connected. So if you hear with your passions, it's no way for you to be just. Now we're going to go back to know thyself. We're going to just touch on those first 3 keys. And then, so we already went over key 1 about weakness and ignorance. Now, fearfully and wonderfully art thou made. Praise therefore thy creator with awe and rejoice before his reverence. I think Grand Sheik Shahid Ali Il touched on that beautifully. The more and more you think about, like, man, my joys and my griefs are connected. This is wild. Like, so I could be too happy and that could mess me up. Or I could get too much all I want and that could spoil me. You know, they used to say that about children all the time. You giving that child too much of what they want, you're going to spoil them. So that means the things you like can destroy you. The easy example for one to see is an addict. They're getting everything they want. Why is it destroying them? Wherefore all creatures are thou only erect, but thou should holdest his works. Wherefore art thou to behold, but thou mayst admire them. Wherefore art thou to admire, but thou mayst adore their creator. So it was asking you these questions, why are you doing these things? And I love the next key because it makes you go back, at least for me, and rethink about key 3. It says, wherefore is consciousness reposed on thee alone, and whence is it derived? Then after it asks you, why are you beholding these things? Aren't you supposed to admire your creator? Then it asks you, why are you conscious? Why has consciousness been given to you? Why are you, or another word for consciousness, why are you aware of these things? As our brother Grand Sheik Shahid Ali Il touched on, the beaver not aware of certain actions. It don't even have a will to disobey. So why are you aware that you can disobey or obey? Because as it said in the other chapter, now you have a choice to be made. So with that, let's jump down to key 10. It says, know thyself and the pride of his creation. The line uniting divinity and matter. Behold, a part of Allah himself within thee. Remember thy own dignity, nor descend to evil or to meanness. And so with that, it's talking about this line. What's this line, uniting divinity and matter? What could it be? Now we know one of the foes we must fight was insufficiency of knowledge. Now let's jump to Holy Instructions of Unity 26. The gifts of understanding are the treasures of Allah.
He appointed to every man his own portion of understanding, seeming good to him.
Alhamdulillah. Go ahead, Chairman. So, the gifts of understanding are the treasures of Allah.
Islam.
Alhamdulillah. So we just heard that. What is this line uniting divinity and matter? It's understanding. It talks about this in another chapter, that based on what man understands is the gnosis, or the beginning of knowledge, or the understanding of naught or falsehood or truth. So based on what you understand, you're either gonna go left or you're gonna go right.
The essence of know thyself is weak and ignorant. Weak and ignorant, and humble as thou ought to be. To know thyself truly is to know that compared to our Creator, that even in our physical bodies are weak. I don't care how strong you are. Your skin is not tougher than the elephant skin or the rhino's behind. You know, our physical bodies are weak by all measure of creation and nature. There's so many other things in nature that have such stronger, even physical defenses to protect themselves from harm. But anything can prick us and cause us to bleed a little bit. Our flesh is so soft. So just like when we observe our physical nature and see its weakness, but we have the strength of mind to protect ourselves from things that can harm us. And so it causes us to be humble, because who is it truly that's protecting these weak bodies? Islam?
Allah.
Who is it truly that's protecting some of us for 50 something years for nothing, stabbing us in the heart or busting our head wide open? Islam? That's almost miraculous. Look at the frailty of the human being. Islam? So weak, and then no matter how much we know, we learn from the Holy Instructions of Unity that the clearest of human knowledge is what?
Blindness and folly.
Blindness and folly. So there's no way arrogant about knowing anything, because as much as we know, there's thousands times, probably million times more than we don't know. Science today is discovering new things every day. Yeah, we're in a technological age, and science is discovering things daily. Discover, to take the cover off of it, things that we did not know prior to discovering it. So we're really weak and we're really ignorant. And that should make us humble. Because if we humble, or if we are willing to not be arrogant and to not show these lower self traits, then there's blessings on the other side of that. Then we can understand that, hey, no matter how much I know, or no matter how much this person knows, and no matter how much this person doesn't know, it puts us right in the middle. Because there's always someone who knows more, and there's always someone who knows less. So no matter how much you think you know, you still right in the middle. Between somebody who knows more than you and somebody who don't. So let us be humble as we approach one another, so that we can learn, and that we can, like it says in the Holy Instructions of Unity, communicate it to the ignorant for instruction, and communicate it to the wise for thine own improvement. So even if you're wise, knowledge that you think you may be familiar with can be improved upon. Islam?
Islam.
And say, wherefore consciousness was reposed upon thee alone. What consciousness? The consciousness of the fact of your nationality and your birthright and your creed. You conscious. Most of y'all people ain't.
Yes, Mom.
That consciousness was reposed upon thee. You know who you are. You know what your divine creed is, or you studying and finding out. That ain't no accident. There are no accidents or coincidence. Law governs all events. So respect that. Honor that.
Yes,
That
Mom.
this consciousness was given to thee.